Most of you probably saw that film earlier this year, The King's Speech, about the ordeal of having to make a speech declaring war or whatever it was. No one ever said whether George VI had to make a speech at his daughter's wedding. But I know how he felt if he did. Anyway, my...
Closer, Dad.
Microphone.
Oh, closer. Okay, right. Anyway, first, may I just welcome everybody and thank you all for coming. From all of us, from Alison and myself, from David and Peggy, and Robin and Andy themselves, who have provided this wonderful spread and this wonderful occasion today. So thank you all for coming. Particularly, I have to say, those who come from a long way away. Four from Australia. Who's that? One, I think, from Singapore. At least two from Scotland. For all I know, maybe more. And anyone else who's come from far away, we're very pleased and happy that you were able to be here. And the other person I must thank particularly for making this whole event possible is my wonderful stepmother, Robin's wonderful grandmother, known to us as Ma, whose house and garden this is, and it's lovely that we've been able to. And I shouldn't forget Tony Gardner as well, because we have over slightly into Tony's market garden over the wall as well. So Tony, thank you for that as well. But otherwise the food would never have got in here. So Tony's part was right. I'm supposed to say things about Robin as a girl, as a baby. There were two remarkable things about Robin as a baby that I remember. She was the only baby, still 30 years later, she's the only baby I have ever known who arrived on the appointed day that she was due to come. I've never heard of another one. Whether this punctuality has remained a feature, I don't know. I think they're not unpunctual. And there was a nice thing today, the very last thing before we left for the church this morning. Robin was having some photographs taken. And I was saying, hurry up, we better... No, I was saying it doesn't matter. When I hit, you can have another, after I hit 5 minutes or so. And Robin said, no, you can't have another 5 minutes because the beef Wellington is timing. So you see, this is food was the important preoccupation throughout. The other thing about Robin as a baby is that she never sort of crawled. You've seen all these lovely babies, young things crawling around. Robin never crawled. She had a higher form of evolution because she bum shuffled. So she was able to bum shuffle everywhere, which was a higher form of evolution. It's like walking upright because it leaves your hands free. So she was able to get into the fridge, for instance. At a very young age, she could come down several flights of stairs, down to the fridge. So we would find her with the fridge open and her mouth covered in whatever she'd found in the fridge. Sometimes I think cat food. But so I thought bum shuffling was a remarkable thing, and in another few hundred years, I think all babies will bum shuffle. So I think that was a good start. I remember her having a very good pair of lungs, so I thought she was going to be an opera singer. Then, a little later, she became incredibly argumentative. So I thought she must be going to be a lawyer. But, and then she was always, how shall I say, precociously sort of tactless. She would always say what was in Robin's mind tended to come out, and I think it possibly still does. Diplomacy was not her middle name. And the most famous occasion, I must tell you, this wonderful occasion, which was at sort of Paddy's christening. It was actually a blessing that we did in our house, and my brother pronounced a blessing on the baby Paddy. And Robin, aged 2.5, at the point when Alistair said something about the Holy Spirit, Robin piped up, "Mummy likes spirits." to the mortification of our grandmother, who didn't really approve. So, I don't know, going on a little further, her interest in horses, thankfully, was short-lived. It was a relief. Her flirtation with vegetarianism, which a lot of girls go for, was even shorter. She was always very keen on her food. And Ma particularly remembers Robin at a very young age standing up at the table and saying, "I want meat." You can see the results of that today, because Robin's liking for meat has given you some beautiful meats today. When she was 3, which was perhaps a bit early, we gave her a globe. And we spent a lot of time. She would point out the names of places on the globe and capital cities all over the world and things. So this was an early interest in geography, I think, which led eventually to Newcastle, where she went to university in Newcastle to do geography. I want to say that, with a lot of her school friends. I mean, most people go to university to meet new friends. Robin went to university with all her old friends from school, so I tended to call it Kensington on Tyne. Anyway, it's lovely to see a lot of the Newcastle fraternity, sorority, I should say, here today, so that's another lovely connection. Thank you, Matt. From Newcastle, she went to Barclays Bank, which was a fateful occasion, because there she met Andy, which was lovely. But we'll come back to Andy. But it was obvious from an early age, as I've said, and if you've seen the photographs that Alison has put around the cake here, food was an early interest and an abiding interest to Robin's from the very beginning. I think she cooked her first meringues at the age of 3. Most people take a lifetime doing meringues, but Robin had them mastered very early. Another important thing was a vacation job, probably at school, or was it at university? I'm not quite sure when. You did it for quite a long time, working in a rather upmarket deli, from which you learnt a lot both about food and about running a shop, I think. So that was an important rite of passage, I suspect. And of course...
Microphone, Dad.
Oh, sorry. But now, obviously, from that experience, all those experiences, we now have cakes